I discovered one video, just so stories. We can trust our God-given senses. Scientific evidence, the horizon always stays at eye level because other people told me so. We have quite some good evidence, just flat. And then there is also scientific evidence. Water always finds its level. I discovered one.
Now you can see me. Yes. Okay, there we are. Hopefully everything is working properly right now. So shall I start out then with the opening statements? With intro? Okay. Well, my name is Jouke Elsinga. It was maybe 2016 that I became interested in the flat Earth. At first I did some study in the topic of geocentrism, and then I discovered some videos on flat Earth, and I decided to look into it. And they pointed me basically at two facts which basically convinced me that the Earth is flat and stationary. And the first one is, or that it was stationary, I already discovered in my earlier research on geocentrism versus heliocentrism. But I discovered the lies and frauds of NASA, and I discovered the experiments conducted by flat earthers, scientific experiments on the curvature of the Earth, and flat earthers discovered that there just is no curvature. So that is why I am a flat earther, and I recently made a video on this, and we'll get to that video later on in this debate. So then I had to think about the motive for the globe Earth, basically. And it is basically an excuse, I think, for promoting scientism, the idea that science can explain everything, and to get God out of the picture, because then we can promote the egos of men, basically. Otherwise, it would be the creator who should be worshipped and exalted. So with the pure gospel on the flat earth, we want to promote the truth of the Heavenly Father, and which has to do also with battling the lies out there. And one of the biggest lies out there right now is this idea of the globe Earth and heliocentrism, and the Earth spinning around its own axis, going around the sun. And the Milky Way galaxy going through going around the galactic plane. So all these motions and the curvature of the Earth. So I think there is no basis for this whatsoever. That there's no basis for this in science. Science is about observations, about testable, repeatable experiments. And that is what I like, and that points me to flat Earth. So, okay, there you are back again. So there you have it. I just introduced the viewers to my viewpoint, to my position. That is the one of the flat stationary Earth. You already are familiar with that. So, and that also has its basis in science and the scientific method, which is once again about repeatable, testable experiments.
Okay.
So,
sounds good.
Yeah, there you have it, Bas.
Am I sharing my screen already?
Yes, you're sharing your screen.
Okay. My name is Bart van Assen. Indonesian-based. I lived in Indonesia for about 20 years or more. Did a lot of running on the Bogor uncompeted champion over there. Used to do a lot of kite flying. You can get more information about me on Wildling Rocks. And I'm basically a jack of all trades, master of none. So I think the discussion that we're going to have is very interesting. Quick justification. So we already did a discussion together.
Yeah.
in that we basically looked at various claims that you have, and we basically one by one we debunked them.
No, I don't agree with that, but
So I think it's a very
you can
yeah.
read back on it,
nonsense
and you can have a
and
good look.
Okay, yes.
The example shown here
Agreed,
is very
yes.
clear. It was a vacuum negates gravity, that was nonsense, and a baby's lungs that apply a vacuum, that was also nonsense. One by one, we covered all through these, and I think it was very clear enough to say that you were completely wrong. You decided to be a very bad host by interjecting during my opening statement, which is what you're trying to do again, with a non-sequitur raising an issue about science not saying anything, which is not something that I claimed. And you were a bad host again by interjecting during my closing remarks and starting to debate them again, at which point I said bye-bye. Now, clearly everything was nonsense that you said. We can move on this. You made several claims after the discussion, claiming that I didn't know where the debate was about. It's very clear that my top points were made that you tried to prove the flat Earth based on the wrong tool. If you read my comments properly, you're saying that I secretly defended scientists and that I assume that I listen to people who have a PhD. That's absolute nonsense, because I did not refer to any scientist. I only referred to you, and that you did not do your homework properly. You claim that I tricked you by not taking a position. I was very clear about my position right from the start. So you really need to stop all this kind of bullshit and trying to move the goalpost. You say I'm not interested in truth finding. I am. All the evidence confirms that you are not interested in truth finding. You only want to throw a lot of nonsense around again. So the justification is clear. Quick point on my position. There is dozens of experiments that you can do. You fail to realize that the claims you are making have been debunked over and over again, because you just cut and paste, YouTube videos, which is a load of nonsense that's just dumb to do. It is my opinion that you lack the intellectual capacity and or honesty to do this properly. And you really need to start doing a better job prior to putting your videos out. So therefore, I expect during this debate that you again will not have the necessary evidence, and that I will again, over and over and over again, debunk the fact that you are trying to bring to the debate. So that was a quick introduction by me. Over to you again.
Okay, now I will get to my arguments, and obviously
maybe good for the people that are here. We have identified several discussion points. You've got 4, I've got 4. After that, we can do a question and answer. And if we have some time left, maybe we can discuss the dome and the Cavendish experiment.
Yeah. So let's see if I can share my screen here. So let's give this a try. More options. Give me a hand here. How can I share my screen here? Do you know that, Bart?
I think I have to stop sharing first.
Okay. Oh yeah. More options. Share screen. Yes. There we go. So now you can see me? No, you can see my screen right now? Share screen. Yeah, now you can see my screen. Okay. I just quit this one. Why I am a flat earther. Okay. Let's start with that one first. So first off, I said that obviously, like everyone else, I started with the belief that the Earth was a globe, and that was basically because of the pictures presented to us. But here you can see, for instance, duplicated clouds. Well, then they go in length in trying to defending basically this computer-generated, photoshopped crap. Which is not even done in a professional way. Continents vary in size. Well, they say, well, the Earth is PEAR-SHAPed, but for instance, if you see it right here, you can see that the size of continents don't match up. Also, the variation in light of day, the division in light of day would not add up. Since the shape, the size of the continents varies on these kind of images. So that was basically my first point. Now I'm going to talk about curvature. Okay, if you
Okay, I'm going to interject
go
here.
up, then
I'm going to interject
yeah,
here because you're not sticking to your points. We agreed
I'm
that you
going
would
to talk
convert
about
the
it.
horizon always rises to eye level, water finds its
Yeah,
level,
that's my
it's
point
not
here.
flat, and
Okay, that's the
abyssal
point
plane.
here.
So don't start
So,
about what this is
here-
duplicated clouds and continents being the wrong size. That was not what we agreed upon.
Oh, it was just to introduce these arguments
You
basically.
had the
So
introduction
here
before,
we go.
so don't do this. Come on, stick to the 4 points
Okay.
we agreed upon.
Okay.
Don't bullshit.
Okay. So for instance, if people go on a plane, plane would go up, will travel at 10 kilometers high, the height of 10 kilometers. Then they will see a perfectly straight horizon, just something like this, and not something like that. And also, what you will notice is that plane doesn't continually tip down the nose to compensate for the curvature of the Earth. So this just shows you the fact that the horizon always rises to eye level. Shows you that we live on a flat Earth and not on a globe. So another proof of mine. So this is the video I made, testimony on why I am a flat earther. You can look this up on our YouTube channel, The Pure Gospel on the Flat Earth. So now I'm going to my second proof. Given so here you can see the footage on high amateur balloons, high altitude balloons, perfectly straight horizon there. You would not see something like it on the globe. Okay, water always finds its level. Here we are at one of the biggest lakes in the world, and it is called Lake Baikal. Every winter it freezes almost completely, and it's over 636 kilometers long. So you would have a curvature on a lake of 30 kilometers in total, so which is obviously not there. Well, then I'm going, so you can see this for yourself. It's interesting footage. So here you can see something about the curvature that should be there on a globe or on a sphere or on a pear-shaped Earth, what it may be, but I think it's Bart's position that he believes that the Earth has curvature. Well, if there's some curvature, then he needs to show why and where it is. So where is this curvature, Bart, once again? Then I'm going to my last proof basically on measurements of long distance, places on over long distance, and once again there is no such curvature. So these experiments have been conducted, and they just figured out that there is no such curvature. Well, this is the current world record of distance landscape photography. Well, there is just no curvature. And here's something on abyssal plains, which cover 50% of the world's surface, and there is no curvature on the abyssal plains. So there you have it, Bart. There just is no such curvature. Also, with the flat Earth, with the Chicago skyline, once again we don't see any curvature. And this is on the news. It was even admitted there that we should not be able to see this, but we do because there is no curvature. So That were
What?
my points.
It was in
So
the notes that
there
we
you,
should not be able to see it, but there is curvature. What is that? What news is that?
we should not be able to see the horizon of the Chicago the Chicago skyline, but we do. So this just proves us that we do not live on a globe Earth, or that the curvature which should be there, that it is not there. So that is my point. That was even admitted by the newsreader. So well, then the floor is yours to tell us where this curvature exactly is. So yeah, I suppose that you suggest that there would be any curvature, and it's scientific to suppose that there is
This
any
slide is for
curvature.
you to
So
provide evidence. This is not to start asking me questions. Let me do my presentation first.
yeah. Okay, so the floor is yours.
Is this all you bring?
You can make your argument. Yeah.
Okay, because I don't see any primary evidence. You're again just copy pasting what other people are saying. What have you done yourself?
So give us the primary evidence then. You've measured the
No.
the
I don't
curvature.
have to do your research for you. You need to do your research yourself. So what have you done to collect primary evidence? What have you done to prepare a hypothesis?
Yeah, so it is perfectly fine for a researcher to go onto Google Scholar and to use the research of other researchers. You see this time and again in the source, in the list of the sources. So I have done something like that myself. It's not primary research, primary evidence, but that doesn't mean that it's not good evidence. So if you are to say that it's not good evidence, then go ahead, sir.
Who is saying it's not good evidence? I'm asking you what primary evidence have you collected?
Yeah.
So what have you done?
Well,
This
it's
is
not
all
primary
secondary evidence
but
that
it's
you're
good
collecting.
evidence. So just because I don't have any primary evidence that Hitler existed, because I have never seen him myself, therefore I'm not justified in saying that Adolf Hitler did exist. So what kind of argument is this?
The agreement between us was that we would discuss first-hand evidence for the shape of the Earth. That is in the emails that we talked about. You started moving the goalpost in your last comment on YouTube, that you only were interested in secondary evidence. Show me something better. What kind of primary evidence have you collected?
Well, I cannot recall that we agreed upon the fact that I should gather primary evidence somehow. I have indicated on YouTube that both of us are using secondary evidence, and that's perfectly fine.
That is your assumption.
But,
that is not my assumption.
I would just say
once
that,
again, you have not done your homework properly. You have not
you did not do. Oh, you didn't do it.
Oh, I did. I have primary evidence.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
So you're done? You're basing everything on what's secondary evidence only. You don't have a hypothesis, and you have not verified your hypothesis, have you?
The hypothesis was that there was no curvature. That was hypothesis 1. And the second one is then, because you need to debunk your hypothesis, that there is curvature. So, but from the research I've done, I didn't find any. So there you have it. I don't see any justification for some kind of a sphere, or for the for supposing that there's any curvature on Earth.
Okay, we'll touch upon that in the round of questions then. I'll keep moving on, and then I present my evidence on the points that we agreed upon. Did I share my screen yet, huh?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Your argument was that PEAR-SHAPED means pair. You even argued that again in your comments. I think I've got enough evidence here that pear-shaped means pear-shaped and not means pear. So your comments about a flying space pear is nonsense. You saying that I don't understand what is commonly known as a pear shape, is nonsense. If you look on the internet, you find that it's a homonym. It has different meanings. It's in a large extent used to describe the shape of a woman. I have also looked into what Neil deGrasse Tyson said again, and to put everything back in context for which you have taken it out, he started off with saying chubby is a good way, meaning describing the Earth. It's like pear-shaped, and then later on, where you cut it off, later on he says pear-shapedness, being very clear that he doesn't mean it's a pear, he means pear-shaped in the vernacular. So I think it's very clear. You're talking nonsense again. Next point. We agreed to talk about a pressure gradient, that it requires a vacuum. I have done my own experiment using this. Oops. I think I need to click it here.
Okay, yes.
So I think it's a very
Not
easy
running,
one. Nonsense and nonsense.
Okay,
Yes. Run for a moment.
Agreed, yes.
Okay, there we go. So at one point you can see that there is different pressures on the bottle itself. It's now open at the top. Not even that. Afterwards, I decided, let's figure out what happens if I put a pressure on it. Pressurized, this is coming up now, and it starts to come out at a much higher rate, and all at a very clear angle. So there's definitely a difference between a pressurized system and an open system. It also shows that the Earth cannot have a dome, because that would mean it's pressurized everywhere, and we see a clear pressure gradient when we start climbing. So that's one argument that we can have. You argued that gravity doesn't work in a vacuum. We've covered that already. I think clear enough. I'll move to my next point. Your argument is that, my point was that I was going to say that the South Pole is only possible on a globe. So again, I got Stellarium for you. Let's see if we can run that. That's going well. When you look at this, you can see that the stars, they rotate around the central point at the South Pole as well as in the North Pole. I can confirm that I can see that one on a daily basis, that indeed they are rotating on a point. You can see that running here in the side. Not only that, I can also confirm that the sun sets for the last 3 months, it has set south of west. South of west is completely impossible on a flat Earth. Let's see if I can get that one running. There you go. If I would look from Bogor, south of west, the sun would be on the lower part, whereas officially, according to your flat map, it is somewhere over whatever, Ghana or whatever, the western part of Africa. So this system simply does not work. On a flat Earth, you can have no southern pole, southern cross, where all the stars run around. You agreed that, Stellarium was a good measuring tool. You then changed the goalpost because you said you didn't believe that the satellites were proper. I've just shown you that the South Pole, the stars run around the Southern Cross. They turn in a circle as well, just as in the North Pole. Very simple proof. I was going to talk somewhat about satellite imagery. So your argument, you refer to it again, is that these pictures are all fake and CGI and whatever. So I've worked quite a lot with satellite imagery. Satellites are not there to create, it's not a gigantic, photo camera. Satellites are there for a specific purpose. And the purpose has been set. The imaging bands that are using are also confirmed the purpose that they have. So the old Landsat imagery that we used, there is a nice picture on the left that you can see, would create 8 bands of information, and we would add the necessary color to it to be able to verify this. IMAGERY uses 16 bands for its data, and IMAGERY is set up for, climatological and meteorological verification.
Oh yeah, IMAGERY.
So there we go. Using satellite imagery, I can say that there is a very simple rule of thumb that we use when looking at them, that straight always means man-made. It's not always true. Once in a while we see something that's not quite straight, or that's not man-made. But using that rule of thumb, we can, find old structures, old forgotten man-made structures. I used it to find an old horsepower track in the mountains of Gunung I got my hands on the satellite image from that area, and there was this very weird straight line on it. We went out during a nice walk through the forest, and we found one of the old horse cart paths, still with a complete stone cover on there, right in the middle of the jungle. In other cases, people use it in Borneo. On the picture on the left, we use it for identifying tree species. These maps we use to identify where the areas are with the most promising tree species, and so far we have always been able to use them to identify where these areas are. If you want to go into more of an area where to learn about satellite imagery, remote sensing, etc., here's a link provided. It's a digital camera system. It's not an ordinary camera that you want to see. It's like the TV screen that you're using now. It's like the computer screen that you use. It's like the handphone screen that you use. So if you want to go and have an argument that data is being transmitted over a long distance, then being redigitized and being put back together on your screen, that does not make something fake. Very simple. We can take that argument even further. This is a recording of our last meeting. And if I would apply the tools that the flat earthers like to do, you can see that on the left, there is quite a lot of artifacts coming into the image, whereas on the right not. So the argument that you would then have is that you are fake and I am real, which is absolute nonsense. That is just an example of garbage in, garbage out, science.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually.
I know that this.
Let me finish my talk. You can talk afterwards. I did not interrupt you. You can do it afterwards. I also took the time to verify the satellite. The images that many flat earthers say that they are fake. They say that if you start tweaking the brightness, etc., on there, you get all kinds of artifacts. So I went to the NASA site, I downloaded the pictures that you keep talking about. I did the same thing. I cannot find any artifacts. I did it for the, the blue marble as well. Again, I cannot find any artifacts. Also, this links to, an argument that you already made also. Satellite imagery, continents have a different size on different photos. Yes, they do. It depends on the distance of the camera to the object and the zoom being used. What's his name? I forgot, sorry. Simon Dan has clearly shown that with the simple globe that he has, that you can do as well. You could have done that, you could have verified this, and you could have debunked it if you wanted to. I have used the Himalaya satellite to see how the weather was going over my hometown. I have shared this one with you as well. Here you can see how a storm suddenly develops right above town. And we had a huge thunderstorm at that moment. So again, one example of where satellite imagery has real-life applications. I think that's my last point. Let's see. That's it.
Okay. Okay. Then we go to Sky back again. Okay, can I share my screen? Share screen. Okay, share screen. Okay, now I'm going to my question. So let's just first start out with this Himawara. So this shows you how they are doing this.
Yes, I have
They
seen
just
that and
use
I've just explained it to you. The Imagary uses 16 different bands.
Yeah.
And based on the purpose
So-
that they want to do, they reconstitute, they put these bands together again. It does not make them fake. So provide some evidence
Yeah,
where it is fake.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so let's just do this. So they have.
Yes?
So they used a data set going the weather forecast until the year 2024, and they put it on top of the a blue marble basically. So that's how they created it. So here you can see it.
So you got a
So,
video of somebody saying that. Have you verified this on the site?
No, here, take a look. So here he is showing this. There you have the exact same clouds, etc. So you're just being fooled. Another thing, satellites cannot exist. If they did, then why are the satellites going in space? Obviously, people can make pictures from planes, and then they can see certain tracks on that. Yeah, obviously that is possible. Or using weather radar or anything to map the Earth. Obviously that is possible, but that doesn't mean that there are any satellites out there. So here's a guy. He's called Crow 777. By the way, can you see my screen here? Oh, share screen. Share screen. Yeah. So you can see my screen right now?
No.
Yeah. Okay. So here you can see footage. This guy, Crow 777, he has hours and hours and hours of filming of the moon, and he doesn't see any satellites on there. So where are all these so-called satellites?
Jouke, I'm not interested in your second-hand data. Have you verified it firsthand?
They would be going around the sun, but they would also be going
Jouke,
with
I'm not interested in your secondary data. Have you verified it by yourself?
720,000 kilometers. They would go with 720,000 kilometers an hour around the galactic plane. So how is it that they do not bump into the Earth? I mean, the Earth would go around the sun,
You're
and
trying to make
by
up
the
issues that are
so-called
not there. So
gravitational pull, they would be attracted to the Earth, or they would be left behind the Earth. So this entire satellite concept, which is basically invented by Arthur C. Clarke, it was science fiction, is just it's just complete
are you
garbage.
Gonna keep rambling?
Moreover,
are you going to keep
doesn't have-
galloping again? How
Moreover,
much
I'm
points
just
have you now raised?
wondering, what does this have? What does this have to do with the Earth having any curvature? So you're suggesting that it would have any curvature then? Even if gravity would exist, which is what some so-called flat earthers believe, or flat earth shields, however they are called. But some believe that gravity exists. Well, from that idea alone, it does not follow that the Earth would then look something
Hello,
like.
you're Gish galloping again.
Yeah,
You are Gish
I
galloping.
should.
You are Gish galloping,
stop
Gish
sharing.
galloping, Gish
Oh.
galloping.
From this, that it would not follow that the Earth would be like this, right? So would it follow that if you have gravity, then all of a sudden the Earth would be shaped like this? Well, I don't see so. Even when talking about your satellite imagery and that it would have real life application instead of, and you know, I can think of many other ways to come up with these with so-called data of the Earth, you know. So I don't see why it would follow then that the Earth would be would have any curvature. So can you please?
Why do you keep Gish galloping the whole time? Is there any question in there? What is your question?
Where does it follow that the Earth would have any curvature from anything what you've just said? Please clarify that.
I have already covered this.
I've
I've presented my first-hand evidence for the points that we agreed upon.
So just clarify.
Put a question in there. Stop Gish galloping. Stop bullshitting with your whole blah blah blah. It's not possible. I don't believe it. What's the question? Come on.
You suggest that scientism is correct with its globe Earth. Okay, where's the evidence? The flat Earth would be wrong, would be nonsensical, but the globe Earth, that would be...
Just make a question. Stop Gish galloping. What's the question?
That is the question. Where is the evidence that the Earth is not flat and that it has any curvature? Where is it?
We agreed on 4 points each. I have covered my 4 points now with practical evidence.
Okay, what is the point with the satellites? What is the point with this so-called South Pole? By the way, what you said it wasn't true. But
whoa, stop Gish galloping. What was not true? What I said?
Well, you basically suggested that the Southern Cross that we are able to see it year round in the Southern Hemisphere, which is not true.
No. Stop assuming. Now you're lying again, Jouke. You're lying. I can see the stars rotate around the Southern Cross from where I live. That's a whole different story. So stop assuming, you little weasel. I never said that.
So you suggested basically that you have a South Pole and a Southern Star, which you can see all year round, right?
I can see the stars rotating around the Southern Cross for the whole year from here, because I live on the Southern Hemisphere. That's what I'm saying. And I can verify that what Stellarium shows me is correct. You have already admitted that Stellarium is an excellent tool for the position of the stars. Or do you want to move the goalpost again now?
No. Stellarium is a good tool for position of the stars, but you don't have...
Stellarium showed the positions of the stars rotating around the Southern Cross, around the South Pole. I can confirm that with my own observations. I can also confirm that the sun sets south of west, which is impossible on a flat Earth.
But you cannot see the Southern Cross and the entire Southern Hemisphere all year round, which is the case with Ursa Major and Ursa Minor. So apparently this does not prove that there is something like a South Pole, you know?
Again,
so you should not say it.
Make my position clear with primary evidence, which you don't have, that I can observe the stars rotating around the Southern Cross, which by definition would mean that the Earth has not a shape that it's flat.
Well, I highly doubt so. So you can say so.
Primary evidence to prove that.
Okay. Yeah, maybe at a certain point you can see the Southern Cross, but it is widely recognized that you cannot see the Southern Cross year-round from all places in the Southern Hemisphere, which clearly shows.
So you're Gish galloping again. I never said that.
Well, maybe you can see them at a certain point. You know, you suggest that we live on
you make the claim that you cannot see the Southern Cross from the Southern Hemisphere. Do you have evidence of that? Because
Well,
I have
I'm not
primary
claiming.
evidence. I have observed it myself that I can.
I'm not claiming that. You can see the Southern Cross at certain moments from the from locations in the Southern Hemisphere. Obviously, that's the case. So I am
Again,
not gonna.
we go back to what I said. I said
So
I can
where does it
verify.
follow that you have? Where does it follow that you have this? To the point. Where does it follow that you have this? Okay?
I have already
From
made the claim.
any
Stop
of the points
talking.
you-
Give people a chance to answer. Stop gish galloping. You really love doing
I-
that and bringing up
I
10
have
different
5
points.
5 minutes.
Let me
I
answer
have
the
5
question.
minutes.
Let me answer the question. Let me answer the question. I have
Okay, now it's
given
your
you
answer.
secondary evidence using stellarium. I have set up an hypothesis, and I have primary evidence. I have observed it myself that stellarium is the right proper tool that it works correctly, and I can verify that on the southern pole, the stars rotate around the central point, which we normally call the Southern Cross. It doesn't matter that I cannot see it all year round, because indeed during summer and winter it switches around a little bit. That's not the point. The point I made was that I can see the stars rotating around that point. Being able to see that from the southern hemisphere immediately debunks that it's a flat hemisphere, that the Earth is flat, period. That's primary data. You could have collected that. You could even have done secondary data using stellarium. So, easy case. You've not done your homework again.
No, you have not done your homework because you have only considered one option, and that is, well, the Earth must be a globe. You don't know how your images of the stars are formed. Remember, and you haven't asserted how this is.
That the Earth is a globe. We agreed on 4 points.
Something.
I've provided
You've not
primary
done your
evidence. You're weaseling out of it again by not doing your work.
You didn't do it.
I did not
So
do
you
what?
just suggest
I
something.
did not do what, Jouke? Tell me.
What do you say?
What did I not do, Jouke?
You did not do your homework. You just
stop. Let me
assume
stop this galloping again. Stop this galloping again. Stop this galloping again. You are a little weasel, aren't you? You keep talking and talking and talking. I did my homework. You did not do your homework. You're only copy-pasting YouTube videos. I brought up secondary data. I did a hypothesis. And I verified it with primary data, for which you are too lazy to do and intellectually dishonest.
You just repeated the school teachers, the school books.
I did not repeat the school books.
These don't add up to reality. So also this point on the Southern Cross, for instance, Eric Dubé has tackled that already.
For God's sake, man. Go for some primary evidence, man. Show me your first-hand evidence. You have none.
So you filmed the stars.
Videos,
You're
man.
basically suggesting that you did, but I didn't see the footage of you filming those stars there.
Oh, now I
didn't see it, to be honest.
Me filming those stars. Why don't you bring some footage of the documents that you claim to have?
To the viewers, he just said to me that he had primary evidence of the stars.
Yes, I have observed myself
just said
that stellarium has the stars in the right position.
I'm asking him, and he cannot provide me.
So you can keep talking and talking and talking.
You are lying.
But you're gish galloping again. You're again being intellectually dishonest.
Okay.
And you're too lazy to go out and verify primary data, which you could have done. I did it in 10 minutes in the garden. How difficult is that? Can you not do that?
Would it do anything to prove this?
Yes.
Seriously?
Yes.
You think so?
Yes.
Is this it what you're saying? Well, please give me a break. I come up with repeatable, testable evidence.
Okay, I'm gonna move on now.
We have the intention to do this. We're gonna gather primary evidence. Like I said in previous video, we have this intention to do this. We need to have the means to buy the camera, etc.
Blah blah blah.
But you did just trickery. it doesn't have anything to do with the shape of the Earth. Give me a break.
So here we go. My question's for you. Your argument is that the horizon always rises to eye level.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
got, what is the guy's name again? Critical Think. He verified this using an actual tool, not bullshitting his way through whatever he's talking, and he disproves this. And on the internet, there's even data available, thanks for a good friend of mine that sent it on to me, on the angle that it changed with height, the horizon. Have you verified this?
You can see just 1 second ago that he uses a
Have you
fisheye lens
verified
there.
this? Have you verified this
uses-
information?
I just see right here that he uses a fisheye lens. Just go 5 seconds back and you see that already. So yeah,
Wait,
if you
what?
use the fisheye lens to trick people into believing that the horizon does not
What part, where do you want me to
you
stop?
see here,
Where
there,
is he not
there you
true?
see it already. That is
Huh?
a fisheye lens, dude. So don't come up
A
with
fisheye
just
lens?
tricks.
This is a
Fisheye
tube, man. That is not a fisheye lens. It is merely
a
showing
fisheye-
you that the
you-
tube connected to the
yes.
water path, that the
He
level
films
that it
with a
points
lens.
up.
He films with a fisheye lens. Come
It
on.
does not matter
Don't you
what he
see that?
uses to film it with.
That doesn't stay the same. How is this possible then?
Yeah, okay, he's not filming the curvature. What part do you not understand? He's filming a water level that he has with a tube connected to it. The tube he has aimed at the
Okay.
horizon, and he shows that there is an angle. Do you not understand that? There's even a data on the internet available that shows how much the angle is with the height above sea level that you have. So that's quite easy. You should have verified this. And you can even debunk this data if you want to. Why have you not done this?
So
It's a very
this would
simple tool that you
compensate
can use.
this would outweigh all this evidence I showed you with the Chicago skyline, which
This
for
is again a
everyone.
point that I'm bringing to you. You've not done your homework. This you should have verified. I'll move on to the next one. This was nonsense.
You have not done your homework by
That was
taking a look at
another
that.
argument you made. Okay, I again did an experiment. On the picture on the left, is that level?
No.
Yes, it is.
Oh
Is
yeah.
this picture level?
Okay. That picture?
Yes.
No.
Yes, it is.
It is going down, right?
Well, it depends on what side you look. It's going up on the other side.
Yeah.
So this is the experiment I did. Very simple. I got some water. I gave it a bit of color so you can easily see it. And I even made it salt to mimic the seawater. Water gets level depending on the forces applied to it. In this case, there's capillary working going on. Therefore, the water on one side is higher than on the other side. So, very clear.
Okay, yeah.
Level does not mean flat. You should again have verified this. You could have done this. You could have figured it out. Horizon.
Okay.
The horizon is always flat.
So from this, it would follow then that this lake is not flat. You would suggest well. This lake's actually.
That your claim that water is always level, meaning flat, is not correct. You could have verified it.
Yeah. So you're not defending this? No.
There's not. Video,
okay.
The horizon is flat. I took some.
Okay, maybe I said it.
Stop. Let me finish. It's my questions now for you. I took screenshots from your video, and surprise, surprise, when I get them together and I squish them horizontally, none of them is flat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 screenshots from your video. None of these horizons is flat. Interestingly, the first one here, the argument was that the bridge is flat. Clear horizon here. It's clearly curved when you squish them together. Your Barca lake we have here, not flat.
Yeah.
Interesting, this one. It was shot with with a drone, which has a gimbal
Yeah.
that keeps the camera horizontal. Still not flat.
Yeah, because
Here's your
that's
Kansas one. What is it?
missile
Kansas,
lens.
huh?
But my point was that the water,
Look at this.
you have
Not
ice.
flat. So again, you have not verified your secondary data. You have not done verified that it's flat. Your claim is nonsense.
No, it does
Abyssal
not follow
planes
from
are
that.
completely
It
flat,
does
you
not
argue.
follow that therefore there is all of a sudden curvature. I'm just saying there's no curvature. So what? How does it follow that there is any curvature?
Yeah, okay.
The curvature 8 inch
you
per
claim
mile
that the
squared.
horizon is flat.
Which is your position? If
You
I would
claim
be
that the horizon is flat, Jouke. Stop Gish galloping again.
if
Stop
something
this.
of
Stop
film,
your bullshit. Come on. You claim the
stop
horizon
your
is
own
flat.
position, huh?
You claim the horizon is flat. I prove to you
Yeah.
that is not true. It's not flat. So therefore,
It is
nonsense.
flat.
The evidence
is.
you bring to the table is misleading. You're being intellectually dishonest again, and you're too
You're
lazy to
doing that.
verify it. Abyssal planes are completely flat. This took me 1 minute of checking on the internet. How are abyssal planes measured?
Yeah, they
How
are
are
approximate
abyssal planes
flats.
measured?
They're among the flattest places on Earth, so they're
Yes,
flat.
and how
That's
are these
what
measured? Have
I
you been
said.
there? Have you been to the abyssal planes?
No.
So, how is it
So
measured?
you suggest, well, these people are lying, and the Earth would contain these 8 inches per mile squared. So once again,
They all
where
come to
is
that
your
one,
evidence?
don't worry.
Well,
How
you
is
don't
an
have
abyssal
any.
plane, how is it measured, the abyssal plane? You can literally read it in the highlighted text. Above it. It is measured in depth, so meters above sea level. And the text also says they are one of the flattest. Flattest does not mean flat, something different. They verify about 10 to 100 centimeter per kilometer. So your argument that it's flat, debunked here right away. Very easy. It does not, an abyssal plane means it's overall the flattest area there is. It does not mean flat as you are trying to prove it. Again, you should have done your homework. You should have verified this rather than put it in a video. Nonsense. Complete and absolute nonsense that you're selling. You're being intellectually dishonest. You're misleading people. And you're just too lazy to even verify the data that is in your videos. You're basically just copy-pasting what other people are saying. That's the whole point, isn't it?
You're too intellectually lazy to defend this, dude. You haven't come up with any evidence to defend it.
Now 4
Don't
times
you know
again
that?
proven that you're lying.
As a scientist, where is your evidence if you talk about science?
Yeah, okay.
So give me a break.
All
Please
4 points
reflect
that you
upon
brought, I
yourself
have already
first before
deemed
you
with 5
with
minutes
others.
of work.
Before you
Where is your
attack others.
primary evidence? Where is your primary evidence?
Well, where is your primary evidence for this? There should be tons of evidence that you should be.
I have provided primary evidence for all my 4 points. Where is your primary evidence? You assumed that I would have none. You assumed again that we were going to have a debate with your silly videos, which I have again debunked.
No. You have not debunked anything. The point is that we're not living on this. So your point is that we do live on this. So where is your evidence?
The horizon is not flat.
So I showed
it's not flat.
good indications why we don't live on
a
globe with why there is no
You're
curvature.
full of bullshit. It's not true. Water finds it level based on the forces applied to it. The abyssal plane being flat, easy to verify that the secondary data that you have is not true. So where's your primary evidence? Where are you being intellectually honest in this way? You're lying through your teeth, Jouke.
You're lying and you're intellectually honest by pushing this water to one side.
No, I'm
that
not
is your
pushing this water to one
intellectual
side.
dishonesty. If you look at water in a regular way, how it behaves in nature, then you will discover that it finds its level. So now you're trying to work your way out of this
And level does not mean flat, as you're trying
by
to say, which
supporting
I proved with this
globe.
experiment.
You're so attached.
So you're being intellectually dishonest.
You're being intellectually dishonest by pushing this water to one side to
I am not pushing this water to
suggest
one side.
basically
I'm
that you're
doing nothing to the
living
water.
on this. There's no evidence whatsoever for this. Face it, mister.
You
You haven't provided any evidence. You're
You're just
intellectually
pathetic.
dishonest, and you did not do your homework.
The horizon always rises to eye level. BS, complete BS shown with this data, which you could have verified or debunked. So you are being intellectually dishonest. You're misleading your readers.
Chill.
The horizon is flat. Here we go again. None of the screenshots I have is flat. You have not verified it. Nonsense. You're lying about abyssal planes. It's not flat. Plane does not mean flat. So I think we're very clear. Your questions were nonsense, and the claims that you're making is nonsense.
I made some questions about it. I asked some questions on how it would follow that you have this from the point you were making, but you did not answer them. So you say my questions were nonsense. No, my questions were perfectly valid, and you're putting out fraudulent information on the Southern Cross.
We agreed on. What are your questions? Let's go back to the points we agreed on. What are your questions about these?
On the points we disagreed on.
I've proven that.
What did you say? Can you? Your voice is a bit distorted. Can you repeat it one more time?
My points 5 to 8. I've clearly proven evidence. PEAR-SHAPED does not equate to a pair. PEAR-SHAPED also does not always refer to the shape of a pair. It is a term that we use for different forms. I've proven that. That was the point. Do you have a question about that one?
Like I said, I had multiple questions. First off, I did not say that the Earth is a pair. That is just you suggesting that I'm saying this.
Yes, you did.
I'm saying that it said that the Earth was pear-shaped. Then go to the second point.
Pear-shaped means.
What does gravity? How does it follow from gravity existing? Even if this were the case, that then the Earth would be globe-shaped.
So do you agree that gravity exists?
Seven
do you
points.
Agree
well,
that a downward
what does
force
it mean?
exists?
The South Pole is only possible on the globe. Yeah, obviously, because then you have a pole, I say you don't have a South Pole.
Stop this galloping, do them one by one. You want to talk about the pressure gradient requires gravity? You agree that the pressure gradient requires gravity? I have shown you a pressure gradient.
No.
I've shown you
How would it follow that you have gravity there? You haven't proven gravity, you've only assumed it. You do not know the difference between an assumption
What was the point that we agreed upon?
And evidence.
We agreed upon that I would talk about the pressure gradient requires
science,
gravity.
But you don't know what the difference is
to prove
between
gravity.
an assumption and evidence.
Stop
you don't need to prove it.
Come on, one by one. Stop this galloping. My point was a pressure gradient requires gravity.
I do not need to prove gravity. But on the other hand, he says that a pressure gradient
What was the point we agreed upon? Stop this galloping.
Okay. And point then
six, on pressure gradient requires no. Stop this galloping, Jouke. Point 6. What was it about?
How do you know that it are satellite images?
Stop this galloping. Come on.
How do you know that it are satellite images?
Stop this galloping.
You only
We're at point 6, Jouke. We're at point 6. Don't change the topic. Come on. Point 6. What was point 6?
I'm talking about point 8 right now.
No, I'm still at
Where
point 6. It's not
are
your
these
show,
satellites?
Jouke.
How do you know that it are satellite
Don't
images?
try to change the subject, Jouke. Come on. What was point 6? A
I'm
pressure
not doing
gradient
this.
requires gravity.
You're talking about satellite images. Okay,
I'm
how
not
do you
yet at
know that it are
images.
satellite
We'll come
images?
to that. Don't worry about it. Come
Well,
on.
he
Don't be
doesn't
dishonest,
know.
Jouke. Come on, stick to the point. What is your question about gravity
Well,
and
how
pressure
do you
gradient?
know that it are satellite images?
I'm
Well, you
talking
don't know,
about the
do not know
pressure
that.
gradient. Come on, be honest. We're still at point 6.
On
You
the
haven't put the
pressure-
question properly there. Come on.
Okay, on the pressure gradient.
Do you
Why
agree that there is a pressure gradient?
would it be a result of gravity, not just density and a pressure gradient? So please tell me why it would be gravity at work there.
Let me see
Please
if
tell
I
me,
can show you
rather than
that
trickery.
other video. I don't have it here on the, what is it? So,
Rather than that it
I've
just
got-
would be trickery, you know,
No,
on
no,
your
there is no
part.
trickery. Slow down. Don't make interjections. Let me answer the question. I had a video ready, but I forgot to put it up there. Sorry. Showing, what is it? A density tower in zero gravity. Density does not explain, it does not work without a downward force. If there is no downward force, the density tower immediately mixes up with all the materials in there mixing through each other. I will add it into the video later on so you can have a look, and I'll share the link to it. So, for a pressure gradient to exist, there is a downward force necessary. I showed you if there is no pressure gradient, if it is a full pressure, pressure equalizes throughout the container, like I showed you. So I've proven the point that there is a pressure gradient requires gravity. You maybe you want an argument about what gravity is? You want to bring up Newton and stuff like that again?
You just assume it. You assume that gravity is at work there. So please explain how this actually works.
Gravity is the downward force that we also talked. Let me explain this, man. If you ask a question, shut up. Have the honesty to let the other one reply to it. Yes? I did not interject you. You don't interject me. So, gravity, what we normally assume is gravity, is a downward force on Earth here. Same with the Newton. We can still use Newton mechanics to apply it. You wanna argue that point?
Yeah. So I just want to tell you that you just said that we assume it. Yeah, that's your point. That's your problem,
I
because
did not say
you have your
Don't lie, Jouke. Stop lying, Jouke.
You're assuming all kinds of
I did not
things.
say that.
I want
Jouke, I did not say that. Stop lying.
Well, we just have it on tape, so.
Go and listen back. What we normally call gravity is the downward force that we experience here on Earth. You want to call it something else?
Yeah, I would call it the product of density and buoyancy, basically.
Okay. What is your definition of density?
That is the result of the different density of stuff.
It's the result of different density of stuff. That's the circular reasoning. What's your definition of density?
That's the product of the difference in materials, matter, and how it is organized based upon the differences in density. So
that's the circular reasoning. You're invoking density to explain density.
The denser matter, or the denser gases, they will be ardent below the less dense ones. So that is how the creator put it into creation. Stop. Think about it for a moment.
No.
Think about
let me ask
it.
the question first, because I have thought about it. Your argument is that the denser gases go to the bottom?
Yeah.
So then why are we able to breathe oxygen? Because oxygen would be above CO2. CO2 is more heavy, more dense, and we should have a whole layer of coal dioxide on the Earth, and the oxygen would be higher up. Why do we find helium atoms right here in the atmosphere? Why do we find a mix of gases and not different layers of different gases? And why do we find a pressure gradient?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I can think about it. But you know, we see this happening.
So how do you define buoyancy? You can't define density. You cannot explain density. How do you explain buoyancy?
Buoyancy is the upward force, basically, of the pressure of fluids.
Have you any evidence? Have you measured it?
Yes.
Do you have any evidence for it?
Has to do. Any evidence for that? Well, maybe I should take one more look into that to.
Who? You should take
to
a look
explain
into
it a
that.
little bit more. Yeah, but
So you're basically invoking an extra force that we do not need based on magic.
Well, gravity is magic. I already pointed out some inconsistencies. I can do it once again, but like for instance, why does a rock drop all the way from the top of a mountain, basically towards the base of it? Why doesn't it stay sticking to the mountain, to the top of the mountain? Based upon the theory of gravity, this should be the case.
How big
Also,
is
when it comes to
How big is your mountain? Come on,
the moon and
make
the
it clear.
Earth.
How tall is your mountain?
So, why is it that the moon is not
How
attracted
tall is your mountain?
to
Have you done
Earth?
the Have you done the
Well,
calculations
the
using
Earth's
gravity?
mass is way bigger than
So
the
this
mass
is
of the
basically
moon.
yet another Gish gallop of incredulity. I cannot understand it, therefore it isn't true. How big is your mountain?
No, you're basically saying, I cannot understand it,
Yeah, okay.
therefore,
How
but
big
I,
is your,
I
I can
want to
understand
link
it.
with this.
I'm asking you to
Therefore,
explain.
I need
How
to
big
invoke
is the
gravity.
mountain? Pick a number.
Well, the mountain is quite big if you have a big mountain.
How big is it?
But it's part of the Earth, you know.
How
So,
big is the mountain?
it's the rock or part of the
Come
rock
on, put
should be
some data out there.
gravitated
How
to
tall
the
is your
mountain.
mountain? You want to be 3 kilometers high?
Well, let's say the Mount Everest. So why does
Which is 15 kilometers
something
high.
drop off all the way to the base of the mountain?
Yeah? Because there is an earth under it. So you can have a 15
No, the
kilo.
Earth
Let
is
me
attached
finish
to
the
the
answer.
mountain.
Let me answer your
The Earth
question.
is-
Because just because
Earth
you
is
don't understand it
attached to the
doesn't mean I don't understand it. I do understand it.
Oh no.
Yes, yes, I do. How big do you want Himalaya to be? What is it, 15 kilometers, something like that?
Yeah, quite big.
Yes.
It's quite big.
You've got an even bigger Earth right under it. So if you would do the
The Earth
analysis,
is part of
let
it.
me answer the question. Listen for a change. If I would do the calculations, the 15 kilometer doesn't matter compared to the Earth. So the mass of the Earth would pull it straight down, and the mass of the mountain would pull it straight slightly towards the mountain. And I think if you would do an experiment figuring that out, you will probably see that that happens. There will be a slight, what is it? It is not straight down, it will go slightly to the mountain mass that you have. So it can all be explained. You cannot explain density and buoyancy. I can explain it with simple gravity. So I don't need two forces, I only need one. And what is it? Applying Occam's razor, the simplest answer to the question would be the best one. I don't need two forces,
Well,
I only need one.
It's not simple. Why then do you have the inconsistencies?
Which is
I pointed
consistency?
you at the inconsistencies, but you forgot them already.
Which
So how is
inconsistency?
it that you forgot things so fast when they don't line up with your
What inconsistency? Show me the
presuppositional
inconsistency. You don't have any. Come on.
presupposition.
I've now explained why a big stone doesn't stick to a mountain using gravity. It's a very simple answer. You could have done that with your high school, mechanics. You can use high school mathematics to determine that, and you know that it's a nonsense story. So what are the inconsistencies?
I made a video on that, showing that this is one of the inconsistencies, and I used actually an experiment of someone conducted by someone else, showing that this rock should be attached to the mountain. So why doesn't it do that? Because that is the
I have just explained to you why it shouldn't using gravity. Yeah. It's very simple. You're just trying to make it, because you don't understand it, doesn't mean it's not true. You can do the math yourself. The 15-kilometer high mountain, the mass of it would be negligible. No, you can neglect it when compared to the mass of the Earth. So if you would have done your calculations using gravity, you would have already figured it out, and you didn't need videos from somebody else to fool your watchers. So what are the inconsistencies?
If you've done your homework, then you would already come across these inconsistencies, and you would figure out that gravity is just a lame excuse
which inconsistencies?
To stick to this stupid model.
We agreed on 4 points, and I've shown you that your inconsistencies are debunked. They're incorrect.
Well, I've shown you that from your ideas, it doesn't follow that we live on the globe, and it still doesn't even follow. You know?
Yes, it does.
It doesn't follow that we live. No. Where does it follow?
There is a downward force, what we call gravity. Gravity exists and makes an Earth round. It clearly shows. I've clearly shown you that it's not flat. The evidence is there. You could have verified this. If I need to, I can take you through it again.
Ever heard of the flat Earth society?
It's nonsense from you.
Ever heard of the flat Earth society? They believe in gravity. If you had done your homework, Mr. Badwe van Assen, you would discover that the flat Earth society, just as some other flat earthers, that they actually believe in the existence of gravity. Does it therefore follow that they believe in this nonsensical assumption of
we agreed on 4 points each. I've provided you secondary data, hypothesis, and primary data from 1 points. The only thing you've done is provide videos from other people, and each and every example that I try to give you an opportunity to prove it, you came up short. Bullshit story about your horizon being flat, which it's not. This is going to be an endless debate. Let's move on. You explain me about the globe, about your, your dome. What is it made of?
Yeah, so it's a solid basically on top of the Earth.
What is it made of?
So the Bible calls it that it's made of molten glass. Molten glass.
What is it made of?
Molten glass. That's an analogy the Bible uses.
What is it made of? Have you verified? Have you found pieces of it somewhere? What is the dome made of?
I didn't find any pieces of it. No.
So what is it made of?
There are people. Well, you know, if I'm going to say some kind of molecular term, would you then understand what it's actually about? I mean, you already assume that this model is correct.
What is the dome made of, Jouke? Be honest. Come on. What is the dome made of? Give us an honest answer.
Okay. Yeah. I'm saying if you just took the time to listen. I just said that the Bible calls it molten glass. So that is where it's made of.
Are you saying it's made of molten glass?
An analogy. That's the analogy used there in the Bible. So please pay attention when I'm explaining you something. Then maybe you can learn something from it.
What is it made of by you, not what the Bible says it's made of? Are you now arguing that it's molten glass then?
An analogy of molten glass.
So what is it made of then?
So
What is an analogy of molten glass? Be precise. Come on. What is it made of? Is it a whole piece? Is it in different pieces? Can it crack?
yeah, it's a whole piece. Yeah,
It's a whole piece of
it
molten
looks
glass.
like a whole. Yeah, you know,
And you argue that
we
there is
cannot
water over
go,
it somehow?
we cannot go high enough to take a sample of it.
So you
Or
are
we
now
should go
invoking,
to-
I've never seen it, you've never been there, but there is a dome.
No,
You don't
that
know
is
what
what
it's
you
made
believe
of?
about
You
space, you
assume
know?
it's molten glass?
You've never been on the moon, sir.
So how big would it be? How
But
thick
you
would the
think
glass need
you
to
can
be?
walk on the moon.
How thick is it?
So you think if I cannot answer the question, then somehow that would be proof that it doesn't exist?
No?
What are you suggesting by
I'm
this?
just asking you what it is made of. How thick is the glass? You say it's molten glass, how
I
thick
don't
is
know.
it?
I don't know.
So could you use your high school, mechanics, etc., to determine how thick it would need to be for molten glass to be a whole piece?
It would be quite difficult to do that.
Why?
Because obviously, if I was a globe earther, then I would use my imagination. But
I don't need to use
well,
my
certain things
imagination.
we just don't know.
You don't know.
Like
Okay,
also,
that's
we
another
do not
concept.
know.
How does it attach to the Earth?
How is it attached?
Yes.
Well, I think it's connected to the
You think.
foundation of the Earth, basically.
So you're using your imagination now, which you just accused me of.
I think that is what the Bible says about it. I don't know. Maybe
So magic,
I was just
basically.
speculating.
You need a magic book to
I was just
explain,
speculating. I'm
make you think.
not using my imagination. I was imagination. I was just speculating, basically. But I don't know, to be honest.
Okay. So when I say something, you claim me that it's imagination, and as soon as you do that, then it's speculation. You see how intellectually dishonest you are that way?
No.
Yes.
I am. So there are
You
so many inconsistencies in this globe Earth heliocentric system.
But yet you are not able
this
to provide
curve,
one
however you
consistency
want to
that
slice it. So,
that I cannot debunk.
like
I've debunked all sorts of the
the
inconsistencies that
phases
you
of
have.
the moon, like.
I debunked all the four
What did you say?
inconsistencies that you just referred to. So which inconsistencies? Come on, bring them on.
No.
Which one?
Okay. Like the phases of the moon, they cannot be constant if the moon's path is elliptical, and if it is circling around the path of the Earth, which would go around the sun.
Why can it not be?
Because then it would increase in speed and slow down in speed. So it could never be.
Stop this galloping, stop
the
this galloping,
phases
stop
never
this galloping. So you bring up phases, you bring up slowing down, speeding up. Why can the phases not work on a globe Earth?
Because if you have an elliptical, or basically spiraling pattern around an Earth which is going around the sun, then you would not have these kind of phases, these constant phases.
Throw it out. I don't understand. You now have a spiraling path suddenly.
What is it?
Draw it out. You're talking about a spiraling path suddenly.
Yeah. Because the moon would be spiraling around the Earth's path around the sun.
Why does the moon need to be spiraling around the Earth?
Otherwise, it should lose its track. It would go around the
Why would it lose its
Earth.
track?
because the Earth is traveling around the Sun in your model, and then the Moon would also be traveling around the Sun, so and around the Earth, so basically around the path of the Earth. So it should have a spiraling pattern.
Do you know what a spiral is? The thing you're trying to say, that is not spiraling. That is something different. So, you've got different, whatever bodies. The argument for the globe Earth is that the Moon circles around the Earth. I can see that works, no problem with it. It is not in the exact same. Let me finish. It's not exactly in the same plane as the Earth rotates around the Sun. How do I explain this well? So you can basically see the Earth and the Moon as a single object relating to the Sun. So even though the Moon circles the Earth in its own path, the direct influence from the Sun is so small that we can more or less neglect it in simple mechanics. So it's simply circling around the Earth at a certain speed. You're shaking no. Explain. Go ahead.
I cannot believe this, that you're saying this. So you have, like, let's say the Sun is here. The Earth is going, the Sun is this glass, right? The Earth is traveling around it. And then you would say that if the Moon is something here going around this Earth, that it would not have to catch up because it would be part of the Earth, something like that. That it is magically sticking to the Earth, something like that, just like the atmosphere.
Again,
which would be like
the Moon is basically circling the Earth. It's in a balance, circling the Earth with, in this case, the gravity of the Sun doesn't matter. The gravity of the Earth and the speed of the Moon are much more important than the gravity of the Sun. So while there is impacts of the gravity of the Sun on both the Moon and the Earth, the paths that they have, they are not that much, not that important relating to the gravity of the Sun. So therefore, we can say that the Moon and the Sun form one system that is circling, or we can go even further and have all the planets that are related to that. If you are able to think in 3D, you can figure that out. It's not that difficult.
I did not talk about gravity here. You're bringing that up. So another thing is, if you see the time lapses of the stars, you can check this for yourself, and also you can see them in Stellarium, and we would be going around the Sun with 107,000 kilometers an hour. Then where do we see this motion? We should be able to see it, but we do not see it. So this shows us that we're not going around the Sun, and we're not traveling the motion around the Sun and through the galactic plane, basically. So the solar system is supposed to
You should be able to see that.
How
should you be able to see that?
The galactic plane with 720,000 kilometers. We should be able to see it in the time lapses of the stars, but we don't.
How would you be able to? What would you see?
We should see this parallel motion, this linear motion, basically. So we see circling motion, which in the heliocentric model is ascribed to the Earth spinning in one direction. And
so how big would this linear motion be?
Have you
calculated how big this linear motion should be?
Yeah, it should be 64 times that of the maximum speed around the equator, you know, because the Earth would be traveling.
Oh man, you don't even understand the basic mechanics, do you? How
1670
fast is the
kilometers
Earth
an hour, it
moving
would
around
go
the
like
sun?
this. We have 100,000 kilometers plus around the sun.
Jouke, when we're talking
So,
about
it's a
rotation,
difference
we
of
don't talk
64
about
times.
kilometers per hour. When we're talking about rotation, we're talking about arc.
Well, I don't care, but this is the
See, and there
this is the
your
rotational
intellectual
speed.
dishonesty.
No.
Yes, yes.
This is the rotational speed. So
No, that is not the rotational field. You're lying again.
the Earth would go around the sun
How
with
many rotations do we
64
do in
times
one day, Jouke? How many rotations does the Earth do in one day?
the Earth would go around the sun with 64 times that speed.
Jouke,
So we should be
how
able to
many
see that
rotations
in
does the
the
Earth do in one day?
I'm not even taking time to answer this question. This is
Jouke,
you know that this is
don't
not a
be
serious
dishonest.
question.
Come
So
on.
let's be serious.
One rotation in 24 hours, right?
Yeah, let's be serious about
So
it.
if you want to do a linear, if you want to define the linear motion of the stars, you would need to do at least about 3 hours, something like that, to photograph that. And what do we see? We see linear motions going in circles of the stars. How fast?
Well, why
What
is it not
what is the
64
rotation
times
around the sun?
then? Why is it not 64 times then? The rotation it would have around its own axis.
Because you do not determine rotation
because-
in kilometers per hour. You do rotation
Because your
in
model is
arc.
garbage. Because your model is garbage. That's why.
No, the model is
So
perfect,
just be
except you
honest.
don't
Your
understand
model
it.
is garbage,
You're not willing to admit
and it's nonsense.
that the Earth travels around the sun once every year. So if you would want to see the linear motion of the stars over that year, you would need to do 3 to 4 months. And surprise, surprise, as soon as we speed up in stellarium, we see the linear of the motion of the stars, which is basically called the different star systems that you see changing, which I showed you in the last video. You cannot simply calculate it to kilometers an hour because that doesn't make sense.
What does it have to do with my point? But I see you're accusing me of Gish galloping. What does it have to do with my point?
Okay,
I would say that if you
Let me
go
answer
around the sun, then you
Let
should
me answer
be
it.
able to
Be honest
to see
and
this
let me
motion.
answer
You
it.
don't see
Hold
it.
up that globe. Hold up the globe, come on.
Okay.
The way you're holding it now, that is much closer to the actual speed that is turning around than that you did before when you gave it a swipe. The Earth will turn once every 24 hours.
Yeah, like this.
No,
very
not
slowly,
like that.
and
That is
then,
already way too fast again. You can
I
put it
know.
down. And there
And
is
it can
where you would
goes
see
around the sun, but it's with 100,000 kilometers an hour. You know, remember?
You
With
don't
100
calculate this with kilometers per hour. That's an idiotic idea. You're being dishonest again. You need to calculate it in the arc of in degrees. That's the way to calculate it. And that's what I've also shown you already. So that is not an issue.
I cannot believe this is happening. Okay. So
I could have predicted it.
that was basically the inconsistency in your model. So
it's not an inconsistency. You just don't understand it. You had a video about the Cavendish experiment.
Guys, with occult knowledge.
Occult knowledge?
Okay, the
occult knowledge?
Yeah.
So you had a video of the Cavendish
only
experiment,
like
right?
the so-called experts, just like the Trinity, the so-called experts and theologians, they understand it, but they do not understand it because, you know, it just doesn't make any sense. It's all make-believe. It's all
talk about the
worshipping
Trinity?
these authorities.
I'm at the Cavendish experiment now. You had a video about the Cavendish experiment that you posted. What does the Cavendish experiment try to do?
Yeah, so the bigger mass would then attract to the heavier object. That would basically be the be what we should be what we would be seeing.
And is that what is shown in this video or not?
That's just trickery.
What was the point of the video?
Well, that is just trickery. What these clowns are doing, who use the Cavendish experiment as evidence of anything. They manipulate
what was the purpose of the video that you were
objects,
showing?
and then they say, "Oh, here, there we have gravity." So that's what these globers do all the time. Just like you take parts of these videos. Oh, there, you know, that's the horizon is not straight. So you just take an other angle and you manipulate it a little bit, and you say, "Well, that disproves my point."
No.
Only if you assume
I
it.
merely disproved your point, which you should have done by doing your homework. Go back to the video, to the photo shown. What was the point in this video of yours?
The point is that these people who are using this Cavendish experiment as proof of anything are just intellectually dishonest.
And you're using,
They're just
you're trying to recreate it with paper?
framework. What is it?
And you're trying to recreate this thing using paper packages?
Paper packages?
Oh dear God, do you know what this is?
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah, a paper package, yes. Packets with all kinds of paper
What
in
is
them,
that?
yeah. It's the same.
What is this?
It's milk in a package.
Milk?
With milk.
So what you're basically trying to do is
milk in
extract milk and paper?
It's a package with milk in there.
A package with milk in it? And you're promoting a video trying to recreate the Cavendish experience based on milk and paper? Do you know what the original was about? Do you know what this was?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a ball.
A ball. What kind of a ball?
Maybe of lead.
Yes, exactly, a lead ball. So what you're basically equating now is a lead ball, a big lead ball with a lot of mass, to a package of milk with a huge piece of wood above it, set against paper? Do you not see how dishonest that is? What kind of a joke that is?
You know, that would be one of your excuses, obviously, so that to make this Cavendish show work. So it is just a clown show.
I'm not making the Cavendish work. I'm showing you how dishonest you are by trying to have milk attract to water.
This globe Earth believers who use this kind of a dirty trickery to somehow defend gravity. But I showed you also the inconsistencies in the gravity concept, but then you skip over it.
All your inconsistencies, so go look back at the video, you can do so. This is just absolute nonsense, this is misleading, this is, what is it, scientifically dishonest. You're misleading your viewers again with this kind of bullshit.
No, it was just there to dismantle the scientific dishonesty of these globe earthers.
You don't understand the scientific method. You're just copy and pasting YouTube videos from other people. It's time for you to wake up and verify the claims that you are making, Jouke. Be honest. Start using your brain rather than proclaiming that
you're the one dishonest here. You're still defending this one. You know, you could not answer the question on the stars. You didn't provide any evidence
for
curvature. Remember,
did I not answer?
You didn't provide any evidence, and then you're calling me intellectually dishonest. You're the one intellectually dishonest here.
On the stars did
You're
I not answer?
only suggesting. You're only suggesting that we live up here.
What question on the stars did I not answer?
On why is it that we do not see the motion around the sun, which would be 64 times the motion of that around the Earth's axis? Why don't we see this in the time lapse?
I'll explain it to you and even slower. Shall I explain it? Will you be quiet?
And around the galactic plane, please, with 720,000 kilometers an hour.
So,
So please do.
the Earth is rotating around its axis one time every 24 hours. So if we want to take star trails, we need to photo or video capture the light of the stars for about 3 to 4 hours. Surprise, surprise, we see that. That's what the circular star trails are around the North and the South Pole. The Earth and the Moon, the Earth, let's keep it simple. The Earth rotates about the Sun once for every year. So if we want to see star trails related to that, we would need to capture the light of these stars for about a period of 3 to 4 months. And surprise, surprise, we do see that. That's what we have, why we have the different star systems, the different stars showing throughout the year. Except you need to look south, not north. You will see the different.
So where are these star trails? You just suggest. Do you really think that this is evidence? The pattern we should see when we do a time lapse around the sun should be way bigger.
If you don't understand it, doesn't make it not true.
You do not understand it, mister. This is just some kind of garbage.
I understand it
you're
correct. I understand it completely. I even can explain it to you. Except you don't want to listen to it.
That you have any evidence for it. You're just bluffing here.
No, I'm not.
Well, it goes around its axis once every day. Well, we already knew this. Once every 24 hours, we already knew this. And once it goes around the sun once a year.
Yes.
Yeah, we already knew this. That's how it works in this imaginary heliocentric model, which is completely fake.
I've already debunked each and every claim that you have on that. Here's a great example. Yeah. We've been looking at that for a while now. That we can fly or whatever, we can move together with the movement of any moving object if we are part of it. So this guy is trampolining on a moving trampoline.
Okay. Yeah.
We've been going on this for quite a long time now.
Yeah. Let's do that. Go ahead
with your closing remarks.
Yeah, I would encourage all of our viewers to not suppress the truth and unrighteousness like this, like you're doing, Bart. You still provided no evidence for the curvature of 8 inches per mile squared. So you did just a terrible job in providing any evidence while suggesting that you're scientific and you have done your homework properly. And then you also dare to accuse me of not doing my homework while I'm pointing towards the experiments that have been done and which show no curvature. And once again, if you do an experiment for yourself, then you'll discover what I already pointed you at, that there just is no curvature. So there you have it. Bart came with all kinds of circumstantial evidence just to get God out of the way and to exalt himself and to promote himself, because that is what it's all about. Okay, there you go. Your turn, Bart.
Is my screen still shared?
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Okay. So, with the discussion on the flat Earth, we basically got two camps. We've got the globe-fearers, basically afraid of the curve, and we've got our globe defenders, or the globe lovers, I like to call them. We have the globe busters. You can go out yourself, look on YouTube for these people. It's a very interesting debate that's going on. So for the KYRTOPHOBes, we have globe busters, flat out hero, flat Earth hero, sleeping warrior, Brother Ernest. I really like Brother Ernest. Go for it. Flat Earth Jesus, who is arguing that the moon is made out of glass with helium generators in it. Hydrogen generators in it. And I've tried to do a bit of a Subirat scale. Basically, the pure gospel on the flat earth was at the bottom of that. But then Subirat was able to break his own scale by coming up with the story that the summertime and wintertime didn't meet up. They were changing. On the KYRTOPHOBIA side, we have Conspiracy Cats. Go have a look with him. Bob the Science Guy. Very interesting stuff. One of my heroes is Greater Sapien. Very useful information that he provides and even shares with everybody. Red Rhetoric, of course. Sean, definitely. Very interesting now. Slice Parkane is going to do an experiment trying to show the curve using connected water pipes. That should be coming up in the coming months. Simon Dan, always great fun to watch. So go out, have a look at YouTube, start collecting your secondary data. Why am I not moving ahead? So the points that we covered today was horizon always rises to eye level, which I debunked. Water always finds its level, which is correct. Yes, it does find its level, but that does not mean flat. That's where Jouke misleads you. The horizon is flat. I've already proven that that's not true. And the other argument was that abyssal plains are completely flat. I've already shown that to you, that that's all nonsense. We argued about PEAR-SHAPED, which does not necessarily mean the shape of a pear. I've clearly proven that that was also not the point that Neil deGrasse Tyson was making. I've shown you that pressure gradient that we experience here on Earth requires a downward force. Jouke has a problem with calling it gravity. I don't mind. Newton is still fine with me. I've shown you the, what is it? The stars rotating around the Southern Cross would only be possible on a globe. And I've also provided you with real examples of how satellite imagery have real-time applications. We covered the dome. Jouke cannot provide any serious answers on that. He's just imagining things and thinking and grabbing a Bible. There is no evidence at all for that. And we even had a quick look at his video where he debunks, tries to debunk the Cavendish experiment using the wrong tools, basically. So I think we're back to basics again with the same story as before, that Jouke is extremely intellectually dishonest and misleading you. And it is time for you to start doing your own work, start to look out. And to end that one, I have a little video from, what is it, Jos Leijs. Anybody who wants to stay on and look at this can go ahead. It shows in very simple visual terms how it works on a globe Earth. Thank you for Jouke for this debate. It was interesting, it was heated in a few times. I enjoyed it very much. I didn't manage to live stream it because the computer crashed somehow. I will be uploading this with the limited skills that I have soon to the YouTube channel. You can find me as Jack of all trades on the internet, on YouTube, sorry. And I think my basic line is that if a Jack of all trades, somebody who doesn't know much about any specific topic, can beat a youngster like Jouke with simple evidence to show, then there is a long way to go for, what is it, the pure gospel of the flat earth.
Yeah, but still you didn't provide any evidence for the globe Earth, and I did provide evidence for the flat. This was closing
remarks. You don't start again with debating it. That's again showing how dishonest you are. So, see you next time. If there is a next time, I look forward to it, and then we can discuss the curve in more detail. I hope to go out. Shout out to Fight the Flat Earth, give me a call, because I think I've got a method where we can visualize the Earth, the curve of the Earth together. Thanks a lot, see you later. Bye.